What internet marketing expert should you spend your valuable time listening to? Listen to someone who has over 20 years of web marketing experience and hundreds of website marketing success stories. That man is Aaron Sparks from Site Strategics. And this is Edge of the Web Radio.
We're actually, we've got an individual in the audience, in the studio that's really, really cool, man. The gentleman's name is Don Wettrick, and he is actually a Franklin High School teacher that's teaching broadcasting, the full meal deal broadcasting in the high school, but he also has a course called Innovations. Don, thank you for coming on the show.
Sure.
We wanted to let you run wild and tell us about what you're doing at the high school level there.
I'll try to be brief because I could go on for hours. The Innovations class was started in mind where I was inspired by Daniel Pink, and he had a TED Talk, and he talked about freedom and autonomy. Mm-hmm. And watching that, I was like, man, if I could only have a high school class like that. Pitched it to the principal. We worked around the state curriculum, mm-hmm. and thus it was born. And essentially what it is that the students do things. They have to research. They have to collaborate with experts and not like their dad's best friend. And then they have to blog the results and things like this. So it's also project-based learning. So the students, they get in, they see what they're interested in, and say, let's take, for example, like my student Mason. He wanted to, ironically enough, start a local talk show and use our broadcasting equipment. And we had the mayor on the other day. We're also talking about other political issues or the economics goings on in Franklin, things like that.
Sure.
Another student of mine, Clayton, decided to work with teachers that had students with autism because he had seen something on 60 Minutes about how autistic students work with iPads and how wonderful it is. So he decided to do some research, and we didn't have the budget for it, but that didn't stop him. He wanted to do some fundraising and see if we could get some iPads into the special ed classrooms. Mm-hmm. We're working with a tech startup in Seattle because ironically enough, because they saw our blog posts, and we're starting to become almost a think tank for not the school, but the town. We're even working on some city projects as well, and it's just exploded with this brain trust. And we've talked to Anthony Salcedo, the vice president of Microsoft, and Daniel Pink has chipped in, and it's just been a rewarding experience to give the students time and resources and seeing how they run with it. And so this is why I'm here. So now we're looking at marketing ourselves and seeing some of these great projects that are coming to fruition. So we've looked a lot at social media. Mm-hmm. So much so that we're now really highly competitive on whose clout score is highest, which is wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's where the students, when they're in the midst of every week, they have to blog the results. So if they heard back from a CEO or if they heard back from somebody in their group, they blog about it. And the best thing that we've had, the idea-wise, is that some of our videos or some of our other things, we hashtag it now Twitter Experiment. So we did a couple sample videos saying, hi, I'm Don Wettrick. These are my students. Here's some of their work. Mm-hmm. If you want to collaborate, great, hashtag it Twitter Experiment. And in the last week or so, I've heard from several different schools. Some of the questions are, do you have to make it video-based?
Right.
And you don't. We've had some schools that are like, hey, we're doing some things on Photoshop, some artwork or whatever. So we're trying to start our own cool little hashtag.
This is going to go like brush fire.
I hope so.
Across different school communities.
Right.
I mean, students are actually going to start grabbing a hold of this and introducing it into their own curriculum before even the teachers are.
That's what I'm hoping. Because, one of the biggest things that I've always fought, public relations-wise, is I cringe when I hear people bashing today's public education, and kids today are awesome.
Yeah,
and the projects they're working on and how savvy they are is blowing people away. But only if you mom and dads and principals and stuff like that. The community as a whole doesn't understand how great some of these projects are. So I was like, well, okay, forget that. We're going to go big. We're going to bypass all the bad PR and go straight for the good PR. And so hashtag it, put your own stuff out there, try to get your social media presence going. And it's been great because some of our kids in the Twitter Experiment, they started with nothing. And some of them had followers, some of them hadn't signed up yet. So some of the rewarding experiences, like there's a marketing guy out in New York, his name is Brian Moran. He has 250,000 followers. he not only followed some of my students, but started retweeting some of their stuff.
Nice.
And, man, they came in there and like...
Mana from heaven there.
Yeah, my clout score just went up by 10, and, they were bragging about it. And so, we'll see where it goes. But I know this. The school board and everybody else has kind of taken a look at what they've done, and they're just like, wow, that's cool. So...
Now,
let's see where it goes.
Now, do all these kids have smartphones, or were some of them not having smartphones at the beginning? They got some after they started your class?
Just about it. You guys are going to throw pencils at me. I was only the person that did not have a smartphone until the very beginning of the school year.
Right?
Right, at the beginning of the school year.
Checking.
There's a guy named Alan November, and I was lucky enough to be chosen to be Microsoft's Innovative Educator for Indiana. And so I went to this conference, and he said, my gosh, why haven't I heard of you before? Some of your stuff is really interesting. And he says, what's your Twitter handle? I don't have one. And everybody stopped and looked at me. And he said...
and you heard crickets.
Yeah, you did. And he's like, how dare you come to a technology conference without a Twitter? And he says, well, sign up for it on your phone. Oh, no, here it gets better. And I said... oh, no. And I said... I don't have a smartphone.
Oh!
And then, that's when they started just going nuts. So,
the pitchforks.
Yeah. Mr. Alan November's like, well, sign up for it on your PC. And I had to do it in front of him. And so, with Alan November's blessing, and of course, my first follow was him. So, I went home from Seattle, and I told my wife, I'm like, I got to buy a smartphone now. And ironically, my wife was pushing me to get it. So, yeah.
You understand the wives are always right. You realize that.
Oh.
Thank you, honey.
Yes. No, seriously. If you'd see who I was married to, she's a gem. So I'm lucky in that regard. But yeah. So I finally got caught up. My other students, what I really love, though, is that I've been the model of not tweeting about this outrageously great party or flexing in the mirror in the bathroom or whatever. It's just I'm using it as a professional tool. Yeah, sorry about the visual there. I'm using it as a professional tool in the sense that I'm tweeting about how good my students are. I'm not tweeting about myself.
Sure.
I'm tweeting about all their great stuff. And so now
you're amping up the experiment.
Oh, yeah.
And what this project actually is and how it benefits them.
Absolutely. It's not about me. It's about how great they're doing.
Well, but there's an incredible reverse side to this, too, and that's that, but my daughter's on Twitter, too, and I was the only one, monitoring her behavior there, and she made a lot of mistakes, honestly. And I had to keep reminding her that this was a public forum, that, eventually she's going to go for a job and people are going to see it. And so, the incredible thing in my opinion is just that these kids are already getting a flavor of that. They're already getting a flavor that there's business people that are observing them. Their teacher is observing them. So behavior and, politeness is part of it. And the value that, they now understand that they're creating this persona.
A footprint.
Yeah,
really.
A footprint. That's just worth $1 million.
Well, I even had a student tell me, Mason ended up getting a second Twitter account. So everything on this second account is professional. And even said, he's like, now that I know that some business people are following me, possibly future employment, I'm cleaning it up. And good for you. Not that he was tweeting bad things, but, every now and then you let it fly, or, you're at the football game, or you're angry at the Colts or whatever. But, they're on the... And I've always told them, if you treat yourself like a professional, everyone else will too. And so they think that they're all a bunch of mini entrepreneurs, which actually...
That's a great mindset.
They are.
But they are. I mean, the great thing that they're doing here right now is they are creating that. I tell people that, I started blogging 7 years ago. Now I own a business, and now I have employees, and, and everything's going good. But 7 years ago, it started with a blog post. That's where it started. And people don't realize that, if they're making that investment now in high school, come college, they're going to be networked with all their professors, the research people, the grant people, the scholarship people, the business people. So internships, everything. They don't realize that what they're doing today is laying this incredible groundwork that it's an investment that they're just going to reap the benefits from in a few years. It's so exciting.
And we see in the social media culture is that there's such a lack of filter from adults right now. They're embracing this technology and just letting it fly all over the place. It's great to be able to see a group of kids actually kind of generate that next level of ethics and maturity, because it has to be embraced. And there's, unfortunately, the adults in the business sphere, there's a lot of damage that's being done regularly. I'm seeing marriages broken up because of their Facebook posts. And there needs to be I keep on saying there needs to be some guidance, at the school level.
I can see the social media being taught in the not too distant future in the schools.
As almost
that would have helped John a lot.
Probably.
You got home ec, and then you got how your persona has to be digitally.
Yeah.
I need spell checker on the social media.
Chapter 1: Don't do the sideways peace sign and duck face.